Hello and welcome to Communicate with Power. I'm Barry McLoughlin,
I'm Laura Peck.
and we are here to share with you some of our views and observations about the world of politics, communications, leadership. These kind of themes have captured us for a long time, and we're very much looking forward to this session. Laura, we've already begun with a fairly visible, a very busy day today so far.
Already, yeah. We were lucky to be invited to Politico. They had a celebration. There have been 5 years in Canada. I have to give a shout out to Louisa Savage, who is now at the Washington Post, but it was her idea to start Politico
Yeah,
in Canada
yeah.
5 years ago. She had been doing it in Washington. And now we have Sue Allen to thank and Nick.
Daisy Taylor, I believe it is. Dick
Exactly.
Taylor, I get that
All of
wrong.
his names.
Nick
Yeah.
is great. And so actually the whole team, Mike Blanchfield, there's a whole team there.
They
And
really had a wonderful event.
yeah, that's great.
Which is downtown
Yeah.
Ottawa, and air conditioning, which was
I like that.
wonderful. And I thought it was going to be outside, so it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And they had cake and balloons, and more importantly, every single person in there was interested in a big talk about politics.
Yeah.
So, of course, we had to ask them. So, and I'll ask you, Barry, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? It's the big day, August 19th, tomorrow.
If only it were April 19th, we might have more
Yeah.
time to negotiate this sort of thing. No, it's going to be probably the most significant day. I wrote a fairly lengthy, surprisingly for me, Substack post actually yesterday.
Thoughtful piece.
Oh, well, you're very kind. On what I believe, what I think a leader needs to do in this moment. This is Mark Carney's most significant day. It will be tomorrow of his prime ministership. He has to make the right decision for the right reasons and communicate it effectively. That's what he's got to do. We can all guess what he's going to do.
Because we elected him because we thought, or the voter did anyway, that he was the best man to deal with the problem that we are having at the border and the tariff problem.
Yeah, I mean, he was, to use a metaphor, the steady hand on the rudder in stormy seas. And I've used that one myself a number of times about him because of his background as the only governor of two countries' central banks ever. And he has demonstrated that he is a calm, cool, collected customer with a long-term vision. Now, you can argue that if you want. That's fine. We love arguments politically. That's great. But in the end, this is the centerpiece of what he has presented to Canadians. And he has to demonstrate tomorrow, or maybe he might even delay a day, you don't know, to really respond effectively to whatever the latest Trump version of these tariffs are going to be. If it is, as is, 50% tariffs on a whole range of products and services, I've already said numerous times, both in Substack and here, that I believe he can't afford to roll over and play dead and say, oh, well, that's all we could do. He will respond. That much I absolutely will guarantee, and you can call me out if I'm wrong. He will be responding. The question is how he responds, what he responds with. I don't believe he wants to escalate this. He's not, but he is going to be responsive in equal terms with what the Americans have done. Even though they have warned us, we don't want retaliation. You better not retaliate. Imagine that, eh? We'll roll over you. We'll stab you the front, back, and sideways. And by the way, don't scream about it, okay? You better not. You better not. We're not like that. He got Canadians, Trump and his acolytes, and Jameson Greer, the trade representative, they got this all wrong. They got Canadians all wrong. Of course, they're tin-eared, always were, and they will continue to be so. However, in the end, we can't change who Donald Trump is, but we can change, what our response is going to be. So that isn't really what this session is about, though. It's really about what is the quality of leadership that Mark Carney has to be able to demonstrate, as all leaders do, when every leader, a major organization, has that day of reckoning. This is Mark Carney's day of reckoning. And so, Laura, there are a lot of things we could talk about. I'll say one thing. Whatever he does, he must communicate it. We call the apex of the communications hierarchy. Look it up on the Substack post of yesterday. That he has to not just trade in opinion, should have been 19%, not 21, should have been, would have been, could have been. That's where most politicians operated on. Up the hierarchy goes prevailing public attitudes. what are the prevailing attitudes? Taxation, burdensome regulation, etc. These are all costs. These are all very important, but they're attitudes at the apex of the hierarchy, which will cancel out everything below it. Is values. What are the values of Canada at stake? And or what would you say one or two or three of those values are?
Well, certainly it's all about integrity, doing the right thing, following through on what you say you're going to do.
So you believe these are values of Canadians. What are values at stake? Well, all those are at stake. I'll say one thing. I believe in the end, sovereignty is number one. Anything that cashes in our ability to navigate our own ship at sea is going to be very, very
But what
problematic.
mistakes could be made?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And I'm just saying, just to finish that part out, that okay. So in the end, it's his ability to connect to the values of Canadians. And yes, we do think of fairness. We do want us to stand up for ourselves. These are all integral to Canadian self-identity that is at stake in this. So I believe he'll anchor whatever he's going to say in those values. Now, to your most important question here. All right, so well, let's respond you to your own questions.
Well,
What are the kind of mistakes that a leader can make in these kind of situations?
well, it's very difficult to deliver on this promise that he made that he was the guy because the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, has been on the attack ever since he ever said that, and he will hold his feet to the fire. So,
But
you know,
but, but even Polyev has to be on board this. If he starts to bail in anything in Trump's direction, look out. To be fair to him, he's not been doing that lately. So it's a question of yes, he has to endorse. We can't have a split Canadian response, and he might do things differently. And in fairness to Pierre Poilievre, he's a very smart guy. He might have different ways of doing things at different times. So fair enough. That's the world of politics, and that's nothing wrong with that. But I think the one thing that struck me, Laura, when you and I were discussing this was that in advance of this, has he managed expectations well? Because if he goes into this having, we're going to do this, we're going to be able to stand back, we're going to be able to make the Americans stand down, then you would have raised expectations that you can't possibly deliver on.
The biggest value is trust, and we cannot trust the brokers on the other side. And this is
you're talking about Trump here.
Yeah. I try not to say the name, but this is a discussion that I had with almost everybody that was there today. And I don't think they were just being nice by agreeing with me, but I'll say it out loud. We cannot trust, even if we get a good deal, even if it looks okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be follow through on all of these different promises.
No, but we won't know that on day one. Like, to me, what he's already accomplished is he has not raised expectations. Yes, it's true when he was first elected, the public had expectations. He's had to kind of temper those.
Do you think the public understands, though, that you're dealing with somebody?
No.
And,
Laura, I think after a year and a half of Trump, they absolutely do know what we're dealing with. And 2/3 of Canadians, according to polls, will walk away with nothing rather than cave into him. That's what Canadians are saying. On this issue of you got to under promise and over deliver. That's number one. I think another mistake that could be made is it's unlike him, but I've seen leaders. It wasn't my fault. It was his fault. It was because of him. Yeah. Now they take no ownership.
But the other side is very good at blaming everybody.
Oh, sure. Listen, has Donald Trump ever taken responsibility for anything?
But he's more concerned about making us the 51st state. He's more concerned about the demolition and construction zone that he lives in in D.C. right
He's the
now.
Reno King of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Now, but come back to this for a moment. Okay, so that's one mistake. And I said the second was blaming others, not taking responsibility. If you didn't deliver what you had hoped and worked hard to do, then you can at least address that in a fulsome manner. Do not sort of duck, run, and hide and try to change the subject. So he has to communicate very effectively. I think he should go on all media, national, television, radio, print, and social media, and all the platforms, and share directly with Canadians the real balance. So they say, you know what? He told us the truth about this. He was able to accomplish this, fine. He was unable to accomplish that, but chose not to accept a bad deal. He began this whole thing by saying Canadians are it's better off to not accept.
But even the
I got to
guy who
finish. Sorry,
did
I'm in the middle of his quote. So even though what was his line? He said, "It's better to have no deal than a bad deal." And I think that he's holding to that. And of course, he has to hold to that. Excuse me, I didn't
well,
mean to.
the last deal that was struck by the president, now he says, "Who the hell came up with this deal? That's the
Yeah.
worst deal I ever saw." Well, sir, you did.
Oh yeah, yeah. But anyway, so you kind of know what we think about Donald J. He who shall not be named is probably a better way of calling him that. But you know, okay, so Canadians get all that, but in the end, we have to go forward. In the end, we have to have jobs in Canada. We have to have economic growth, and it may be a bumpy road to get there. We've already seen some very good signs. Touch wood, on recovering from the was it the technical recession, I believe it was called, for 2 months of below zero growth. But it hasn't been repeated in the past few months. So I think the question there is that, can he, he's got a lot of longer term deals with countries right around the world that are going to take Canada's exports instead of America. It takes a long time to build supply chains and platforms to do that. That's going to take time. So if Canadians are impatient, he's got to slow Canadians down. He's got to slow the pace of change. He must try to do that. He's got to be realistic all the way through this. You don't have to like everything he will do or not do, but you have to. He'll succeed if you accept. You know what? I think he did his best in the circumstances with somebody whose word cannot be trusted. And I think that's really important to accomplish. So I think most Canadians, in spite of anybody's political beliefs from left to right and in between, uh, I think they do wish, when you say Laura Mark Carney well in this, that they do have not only Canada's best interest at heart, but they do hope that he will be the kind of leader that right now they're banking on.
Because I did notice that regardless of political party, of the people that we spoke to today, none of them said, "I hope that this doesn't go well for the prime
Yeah, I
minister."
didn't hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that everybody was very constructive in this conversation,
Yeah.
but they don't expect for everything to all come together beautifully.
Yeah.
And they get what I'm saying in that we can't really trust the deal anyway.
Well, I think once the deal is struck, there's way too many, what's going to happen. Prediction. CUSMA, what is being promoted by Trump right now, up till now, is being, I'm going to violate CUSMA, the Canada-US agreement. And if he does, we will take them to court like last time. The Supreme Court of the United States will indeed, I believe, rule that this was in violation of the CUSMA agreement, and therefore he needs to refund the money, which, by the way, I forget the exact amount, but tens of billions of dollars have already been refunded to American importers for having been charged with it. It hasn't trickled down to the consumers who've paid for much of this.
That's right.
So obviously, on behalf of our American friends who are consumers of this, that they actually should be refunded their money. But we're not Americans, and we can't speak that. So I guess the other couple of quick points I want to make is that, of course, Canada, and I said this to a very significant American person here in Ottawa very recently. No, it wasn't the ambassador. And I said, look, we really do like Americans.
Oh,
We are
yes.
not
It's
just
not the
friends.
people.
We are cousins in so many ways. And we have been there for you, and you have been there for us. So we need to really start with that. That to us will not change. We're not blaming Americans. So, by the way, the the alcohol's got to get put on those shelves. If it's going to be any deal, that's got to be part of it. But we want those back on the shelves. We want Canadians to be able to buy that if the deal is struck. So it can't just he's already proven his one-way offers that he's done on the digital tax and so on. That was like, thank you. Now next, no, not even thank you. Grabbed it. Yeah, now we want you to do this. So it's never even even a consideration for thank you for unilaterally doing those things. You get zero with a guy like Donald Trump. So in the end, there won't be much unilateral giveaways here. This has to be a true negotiated outcome. So I guess my final point I would make about the American people is that, we know there has been suffering. There's been job loss. There's not been food on the table. Canadians not going across the border. The complete smashing down of the tourism numbers. These are things that one would not want to continue. We would want to see those back. And Canada wants to go to the United States, and they will go once a decent, reasonable settlement is achieved in which the respect for Canada as a country, as an independent nation, is restored in the American leadership,
I
in the
also
American
have
administration.
that conversation, surveying the room as I do. When was the last time you were in the U.S.? So a lot of them haven't been there for quite some time. But at the same time, they are working for companies who have interests in different parts of the United States, but they themselves maybe haven't been to the United States.
And even though we know, and Canadians are right to point this out, and many, many do, but we cannot proceed without a functioning trade relationship with the United States. There's a great, great, great deal of truth to this. And it's not, it's not ignoring it. It's just that it can't be at any cost.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Do we want it more than they do?
Laura, that's a great question, actually. And because we're relatively smaller in terms of, numbers, people, and dollars and everything else, that the American administration think, we don't even need you. How often has Trump and his team said this, and governors have said that? It's so foolish that it makes my skin crawl when the governor of Texas says we don't need Canadian oil down here. I'm thinking, and those refineries that are refining Canadian oil at 20% discounts on the world price, but are keeping your refineries going down there. What would be replacing that? Can you quickly tell us? Nothing. So that's what's happening there.
And look
Just
at that
denial.
Huge deal that the Prime Minister did in Newfoundland and Labrador. That was another discussion that we had.
That was a good one. I mean, that's a positive.
We barely ate cake.
But you know what? We hope we're never going to say let them eat cake. But
we did not.
No, we did not. But you know what? This is an exciting time. It's a very challenging time. We only can wish Canada, our Prime Minister, those that are speaking for Canada, to make the right decisions for the right reasons and to be able to move forward in this moment of great challenge. So the best of luck to everyone. And we do hope to chat in a more positive framework the next time we meet with you. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a good rest of the summer.
Fingers crossed.